Season 1 of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. And pace cars way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning. It's something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Doden, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Renaissance mentioning all of those racers that... We saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... Oh my God, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around. A little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Coliseo, as Coliseo may try and get a move on. That is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Coliseo going in way deep into turn 5. He's got to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and Coliseo. Too low contact being... Weekly Formula V Weekend Warriors crash 'em up wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because the event does. Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the Formula V Weekend Warriors. This is round number 3 of this season, coming to you today from Summit Point. My name is Maunz. Alongside me, working the comms and the cams, is Joshua Wilkie. Josh, we head to one of the best tracks for these Formula Vs. The race here last season was an absolute classic with a 4-wide finish so memorable, it even made it on the iRacing social media pages. So heading back to this track that put on an absolute barn burner of a race 1 season ago, I feel like we're in for yet another instant classic.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. The Summit Point's got to be one of the better tracks on the iRacing service. This place is just, to me, is just kind of a consummate racing track. It just feels like a racetrack. It looks like a racetrack. That sounds silly, but it is definitely got a bunch of different challenges out there for you, for sure. It's got some tight corners. It's got a pretty long front straight here where you can get a draft done. It's got some sort of difficult stuff in the middle. It's a pretty difficult track, and it always seems to race really, really well.
Yeah, this track can put on some absolute barn burners of races, especially in these Formula Vs, which they're some of the most draft-heavy cars on the iRacing platform. It kind of should be expected to some degree. But regardless, it is a track that is very conducive to good racing. You got that fantastic overtaking opportunity down into turn number 1, a heavy braking zone that these drivers are certainly going to be using in this 30-minute long race that we have coming up. But outside of that, this track is storied. It is a classic sports car racing facility, and it's an iRacing track that many people have a whole lot of laps around. This is one of the first tracks that I ever raced at in my iRacing career, which dates back to 2020, and it's an absolute gem of a circuit as well. It's synonymous with Mid-Atlantic sports car racing. The SCCA and many other series make their appearance here. Mars. I'm not sure if NASA holds events around here. I may have to double check that. Certainly Probably going to get fact check in the YouTube comments after this broadcast is said and done. But regardless, we are still here with this race, and it's going to be a good one here for the Formula V Weekend Warriors. It's been a great season up to this point. Some very fast contenders making their appearance throughout the 2 races we've had thus far, and 2 rather different racetracks as well, Cadwell Park and Magny-Cours. And I drew some comparisons with Magny-Cours and Summit Point 1 week ago, kind of talking about, despite being tight and twisty, it's still a track that with the draft, it's going to allow these drivers to be packed in like sardines.
Yeah, absolutely. This place is pretty tight for sure. It's kind of an old school sports car track that probably would never be made today, just because of it is pretty narrow. That big draft down the front that we're talking about there kind of seems to keep everybody bunched up for most of the race, as we're seeing Jeff Jacobson ballpark himself there. Let's see if we can't pick somebody else, but yeah, this place, it ends up packing up drivers a lot, and it's, when at first glance you'd think maybe it wouldn't, because it really only has kind of that one big front straight, but it does seem to be able to just keep everybody in a line the whole race, and it's always ended up with a really close finish here, almost every time.
And that finish from 1 season ago was an absolute classic. Tortolo, your reigning champion here from the Formula V Weekend Warriors, was the driver who grabbed the checkered flag in that race. And for the 3rd time this season, we are not going to be seeing him out there on the racetrack. So he kind of warned us heading into the season that we probably weren't going to see a whole lot of him, considering his real-life racing commitments. Nevertheless, it's a bit tough to see him not going to be going for 3 straight here. But hey, still very fast driving. I think come time for the winter seasons, at least here in the Northern Hemisphere, we will be seeing him return here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. As it stands at the moment in this practice session with about 3 minutes left on the board, it's a newcomer, I believe, to the Formula V Weekend Warriors series, Samuel Parent. He is currently your pace setter here in practicing a 125.902. Guido Marzucchi, one of our colleagues here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, is slotted in second. Jason Green running at your top 3 at the present moment. Kurt Nunes is your highest pacing Masters competitor in 4th, and Scott Brailer currently your top running driver in Spec 2. Now this season has been rather intense up to this point. The Spec 2 category has been a story of heavy hitters coming in. Michelle Lynn won the opening race of the season at Cadwell Park. She is a multi-time champion in the Spec 2 class. And Brian Szynski, a driver with some real-life FV experience, was your winner 1 week ago at Magny-Cours. So that Spec 2 category, actually, I just realized I was looking at the wrong graph. Those are your pole sitters thus far in the Spec 2 category. Michelle Lynn still won at Cadwell, but at Magny-Cours was actually Michael Lattarulo, your pace setter there in France. But it's still very quick drivers that we've seen a heck of a lot of in this series.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, there's a bunch of quick drivers up at the front here. Looks like Samuel Parent, the new driver today, definitely kind of class of the field at the moment here with a 25.9. Looking back at Guido Marzucchi, also putting in a pretty good time at a 26.3, and then we're going back to the 26.4s, and then 26.4, 26.4, and then it starts to get pretty tight from there. So, this is one of those tracks, I think, even if you do have a bit of a pace advantage, it's still going to be pretty hard to break away from the pack here. So I'm expecting that Samuel Parent out front here may actually kind of give some of his secrets away to Guido and Jason and Kurt as he's driving, and maybe we can end up having a pretty good one up front here, but only time will tell, of course, as Leon Frost puts himself in second with a 26.2, getting a little closer to that 25.
And Leon Frost is a driver who we've gotten a chance to know throughout this season. He's actually classed as a Spec 2 racer, considering he is very new to iRacing. A driver with some experience in some Formula Vs in real life in the UK. Only recently discovered the series a couple of weeks ago, right before the start of Season 2 of 2025 here, and still getting to grips with the world of iRacing, but because of that, he is marked as a Spec 2 driver, so we'll hope to get that changed here in a couple of moments for the driver. Currently slotted in P2. That's a very good performance for him nonetheless, as he finds himself in the pits at the moment. Clearly very comfortable with the time that he set out there on the racetrack, but only 20 seconds left to go in this practice session. And it should be noted, while we're still very early on into this broadcast, that today's broadcast of the Formula V Weekend Warriors is brought by one of the best drivers in this series and the best grandfather in the world. That's Andrew Love. Thank you for the generous support, Andrew, and I believe he's watching this show with his grandchildren today. So That's a nice little family bonding activity with the world of motorsports and the world of sim racing as well. You always love to see it. But the checkered flag out in this practice session now. Samuel Parent looks like he is going to be the pace setter at the end of all of it. I mentioned earlier on how it was Jason Green slotted in fourth, slotted in third. You can make that fourth now. I got ahead of myself there a couple of moments ago. And you can see how those drivers shook out at the end of that practice session. But here now into qualifying, a 15-minute long session for these drivers, solo qualifying, so they don't have to worry about any form of traffic out there on the racetrack, at least while we're still in qualifying. Come time for the race, certainly going to be a different case. I'm a poet and I don't know it, but these drivers, not a lot of time to get some times on the board, 4 opportunities to be a bit more precise, so it is crunch time for these racers.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, you got to get out there and get a time in as quickly as you can here, and I have a feeling it's going to be pretty tight up at the front here, Ron. Once again, we're going to have a pretty tight battle up at the front, probably mid-pack too, realistically here. But yeah, this is the time to put the lap in for sure. Not an easy place to kind of execute a lap here too. There's so many corners that just sort of beg you to go a little bit faster. And even this one here that we're just seeing him touch a bit of the grass, or a bit of the dirt, sorry. That's a really, really easy spot to get an off track from. It's a really easy spot to kind of lose it. People like to try to pass during that, through there, which is just always a horrendous idea. So hopefully we don't see that on the first lap. And then we kind of get into this tight, twisty section here. It starts to get a little bit more technical, and you just got to hit your lines perfectly. It's not an easy lap to execute.
Yeah, that's a very good way to describe it. You have to execute a lap around here. It's like computer maintenance or something like that. You just need to execute in order to get the job done. And around here, you need to feel, I wouldn't say feel robotic, because you do have to have that human fluidity to it to make sure there's no trips into the barrier. But you have to treat this track as if it's something with very rigid guidelines and not a lot of wiggle room. It's an old school track with a lot of grass and gravel runoff. And let's do a quick little lap guide here, heading down into turn number 1, following Travis Rail for this onboard lap. Down into turn 1, it's a fantastic overtaking opportunity, the heaviest braking spot around this racetrack, and in these draft heavy Formula Vs, that start finish straightaway that precedes it is going to be a game of leapfrog. It's going to be an arena for that game of leapfrog. Coming out of that opening series of corners, that's turn number 1 and 2, and this small little flat out blast into turn number 3, shifting up to 4th, heading into it, licking the stamp and sending it, going through here flat out. Want to avoid that gravel trap as much as you possibly can. Thankfully, it's not going to slow you down too much, but you still don't want to pick up those 1Xs, of course, since it's a big factor in these Formula V Weekend Warriors races, and you don't want to get hit by a DQ. This is hanging off to the tight twisties. That was in turn 4 and 5 that we saw a couple of moments ago, into turn number 6, into turn number 7 right now. This series of corners, it's one after the other, after another, after another. It is an endless assault on the tires. Now, carrying some momentum out of this section through turn number 8 and 9, felt like forever that we saw an upshift there, but nevertheless, into the second longest flat-out blast around this racetrack down the hill, off into the final corner of turn number 10. Important to get a good exit out of here, because not only does it lead onto that start-finish straightaway, if you're in a close battle at the end of this race and you got a bad exit coming out there, you are going to be a sitting duck if ever you've seen one. That completes a lap of Summit Point, and despite being in these slower Formula Vs, it's still a very hectic lap nonetheless.
Yeah, it definitely really is, and that one section there you said where the tires are kind of just starting to scream at you. It's a big, I believe it's a right, left, then back to the right, and then back to the left again. And that's a very difficult little section to kind of get it all closed up, as we're going to watch them kind of come through another one of the difficult spots here leading into there. This corner's not easy to get. You almost want to touch that grass on the outside, and then you get as wide as you can there. And I think maybe the fastest line is even if you kind of even just dip your wheel into the dirt just a tiny bit. And then this section you're talking about here, getting it woed up through here. This is always the spot where people are they're either trying to scare you because they're going to try to pass you, or they're actually going to try to pass you. And then getting through here, you got to get this section just right. And it's really difficult. Even when you've done it 1,000 times, it almost seems to get more difficult because you're trying to extract the time out of it. But this place is definitely a challenge for any car, including the V, no doubt.
It's at this point in time that we see some of the heavy hitters come up to the front. Jason Green, Guido Marzuki just set in some very good lap times, and also time for me to realize I forgot to send the broadcast link to my father, so hopefully he's not going to be too upset with me about that. So as I try and get this squared away, also realize I don't have my prerequisite broadcaster's glass of water here at the moment. You can tell I'm all over the place heading into this broadcast. We continue on with the coverage of this qualifying session. You got three heavy hitters at the front currently, and a tie for second between Guido Marzuki and Nate Colasio. Just caught that in the corner of my eye. We always like to say that a race here at Summit is always rather close. Even the qualifying session's very close, because holy cow.
Yeah, that's not something you see every day, is it, Ron? That's pretty close. And again, it's sort of just a testament to the drivers around here and how quick they are, and well, as we just see it change right there. But yeah, he just put in a 26.7. So wow, he kind of stomped that time there by a few tenths. It's a really good lap from Nate Colasio there. So that's going to be a hard one to beat. But yeah, it's sort of an indication of just how fast these guys are out there. If you look at it, 26.7, 26.8, 26.9, 26.9, 26.9, 26.9, 26.9, they're all really close. They're pushing it right to the edge, right to the edge of how fast you can go around here. And as we see Jason Green just put in a 26.7, so they're just one up on each other. This is a great qualifying session.
Yeah, and that's one thing to always raise when it comes to these Formula V races. The qualifying sessions are usually rather exciting as well. I mean, when it comes to real-life racing, there's only a few qualifying sessions that I always find to be the most exciting to watch, and that's mainly qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix and qualifying for the Indy 500. Because there's a little something about seeing an Indy car run around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway at a steady clip of about 240 miles an hour, and funnily enough, if you're interested in some IndyCar stuff, stay tuned here to SMB, because we may have something up our sleeves in the coming months. But as it stands currently, Jason Green, a driver who seems to like the IndyCar on iRacing, is seeming to like this Formula V here at Summit Point, hauled on to that provisional pole at the moment, 13,000th of a second between himself and Nate Colasio, though Felix Samoes has been very fast all throughout this season, just grabbed a win 1 week ago at... I nearly said Cadwell Park. No, that was the first race of the season. Magny-Cours was the last, and it was where Felix Samoes was able to capture his first checkered flag of the season. Also seeing Jesus Rodriguez up there. He's currently slotted in fourth at the moment, the reigning champion from not last season, not the season beforehand, but the season before that. Been a little while since we saw Jesus Rodriguez become a championship contender here in the Formula Vs, but now that we're getting close to the summer and now that we're firmly in spring, Jesus Rodriguez is going to look to bloom.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. It's
that was cheap for me.
You got to get him in when you can. Just looking at the chat here, actually, we got Andrew Love in the chat. He says he's actually watching here with his two grandkids. So we'll say hi to those to the grandkids and to Andrew Love, and thank him one more time here for sponsoring today's race. So we hope you guys are enjoying watching here. I think we're going to have a really good race on our hands.
See, I would try and have some sort of thing greeting them to this broadcast, but I've never been very good with kids. I remember one time walking up to my baby nephew Jameson at a Christmas get-together. One time I just walked up to him. I just said, "What's new with you?" He's like 6 months old. He couldn't even walk. I'm sure if a 6-month-old child really knows that it is sentient, he or her, not it. That it shows you that I'm very good with kids.
You generally don't call them its, yeah. At least not in certain company anyway.
And that right there is exactly why my family usually just leaves me to the side when it comes all that stuff. Oh boy, I'm not even sure what to say about all that. This boombot has got this end made when a sheep explodes. We got a very interesting top 10 as it stands at the present moment. Jason Green and Nate Colasio are currently your front row sitters. Samuel Parent showing some pace that he showed in that practice session earlier on, finds himself in third, with Parviner Ladar and Russell Telker, the top two in the Spec 2 category. They're currently locking out your fourth row, and Alan Degassis and Jim Brewster rounding out your top 10. So pretty interesting battles that we have going up and down this grid.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple Masters drivers kind of nose to tail there. It looks like S2, there's a couple Masters drivers kind of sandwiched between Parviner Ladar, Russell Telker, Ken Poulin, and Scott Brayler, but I have a feeling that's going to be a pretty racy section of the track there, with Jeff Jacobson also kind of just bringing up just behind Scott Brayler there. That one's going to be a little bit interesting. And then it looks like actually Kurt Nunez a little bit out of position here too, perhaps. So it could get a little bit froggy down there as well. But either way, we know this place races really well. There's so many places to pass. You kind of look at it. I think maybe it was you and me talking about it. And you sort of look at this and you think, man, there's not going to be a lot of places to pass on this place. And then you get driving here and you're like, oh, everywhere's a passing spot all of a sudden. So, and that's kind of the way it seems to work out. But we shall see kind of how it works out here very soon.
Yeah, we are certainly going to be seeing a lot of stuff heading onto this race. What these drivers expect heading into it, it's going to be a bull ring without any question or shadow of a doubt. Parvin Lindar just jumped his way up to 4th in his qualifying session. That's a pretty good lap time from him. But we're going to be seeing these drivers have varied strategies heading into this 30-minute long race that we have in front of us. Jesus Rodriguez jumping up to 2nd. That's a good qualifying time from him. The driver of the 76 car, he's only grabbed 2 wins over the past 2 seasons. Both of them have come at Circuit de Maunz. So I think Jesus Rodriguez, as much as that French champagne at a French track probably tastes delightful, he's looking to spray some champagne in somewhere other than France. So who knows? Maybe Summit Point, West Virginia is going to be the destination of choice for Jesus Rodriguez to return to victory lane.
Yeah, it looks like he is really, really quick today, and you know, he's always a threat out there for sure. He knows how to drive, and yeah, he's a consummate competitor for sure. He's not going to let you pass real easy, and he is going to try to pass you as well. So, you know, sometimes that can get him into trouble, but when it doesn't, you know, his driving can be really, really fun to watch, and I think we'll probably see a little bit of that today up front here. We definitely will, actually, with Jason Green, Jesus, Nate Colasillo, Sam Parent at the front. Parvinder Ladar just bringing the backup, and then Felix Samoas in 6th place. So we're showing our speed today. If you can put Felix Samoas in 6th place, you're fast. So, man, it's going to be a good one today. I think Guido Marzucci as well, putting in some great times today. Yeah, so it looks like we have almost finishing up our quali session here. A couple minutes left. Just having a look at Leon Frost here. Kind of got put back in the order a little bit. I was actually expecting a little bit more speed out of Leon here before this session started, but I think maybe, you know, he's not quite done yet here. We're probably going to get another lap in from him. I wouldn't be surprised if this one is a bit of a speeder coming around into the kind of technical section here. So we can see him sort of just struggling to get this car. This is one of the really hard spots to get this exit right, and it's a really important exit to get right before you get down this sort of mid-long back straightaway that leads out onto the front straight, and another corner you really, really need to get right here. This last one, always, every lap, just making sure you try to extract as much time as you can. Probably could have got a little closer to the apex there and a little bit more out to the exit as well, but we'll see what kind of a time he can put in here. This will be one of his last opportunities to do so, Ron.
And let's see what Leon Frost is going to be able to do. He jumps his way up into 18th in front of Dan Szynski, but that's not going to be a big improvement from him. Gotta say though, in that mid pack, it does not take a big improvement for a big change in position. Let's just leave it at this. If Leon Frost was able to cut his current lap time down by 0.2 of a second, he would find himself going from P18 all the way up to 11th. So that really speaks volumes about how close that pack is at the present moment. Frost, it wasn't a big gain in the world to jump in front of Dan Szynski. He would only have to gain 0.03 of a second to jump in front of Kurt Nunez, and then only a couple of hundredths second from there to usurp the likes of Travis Rail, John Toms, and Sander Verbruge, and then Jeff Jacobson running in lucky number P13 at the present moment is a slight bit of a gap between himself and Verbruge, but even then, it's still less than 1/10 of a second. This field is so incredibly close around a track like this, and going back to the point that I raised earlier on, talking about how it's an iRacing staple, I think that may be part of the reason why that is the case. You find these drivers running around here, a circuit that they have a lot of experience on. You put them on a track that no one's really seen until the day of the race, you got to find the field spread out quite a lot. Put them on a track where they're all familiar with, like they know it like the back of their hands, all these drivers up and down the grid. You find yourself in a situation like this where the drivers are just vacuum sealed together. There's two different sections where the field's going to be oh so close, and summit points, really, regardless of what kind of race cars you put around it, it's always going to be tight in terms of the qualifying times.
Yeah, I think you're probably right, Ron. This place being kind of so tight, and there really is only one really fast line sort of thing around here, and you kind of have to be on it. And when you are, you're going to get pretty close. And yeah, like you're saying, it's real close. You know, the top 11, 12, 13 drivers here are all very, very close to each other, and all that's going to do really is make for a really good race. I would imagine we always seem to have amazing races around here, and it's got to be the track, right? The track and the drivers, of course. I have definitely been part of a few bad races around here, no doubt. I'm sure we all have, right, as we were mentioning before. You know, the iRacing service kind of puts you through quite a few races here in the beginning, and that's kind of why everybody knows the track so well. But looks like we're about to get started here, Ron. Let's get that grid up.
Yeah, let's get that starting grid loaded up. I'm pretty sure it's a sure and pace lap every single time we've run here at Summit Point, so may God have mercy on my soul. Jason Green going to be starting from the provisional pole, well, from the actual pole, I should say. Jesus Rodriguez set to join him on the front row. We have Nate Colascio starting in third, next to Samuel Parent, the Canadian, fittingly in the 4-car starting in P4. Parvin Ladar will find himself starting this race in 5th in the Bada Bing car. I apologize for that. Felix Samoas will start in 6th. Guido Marzuki, Russ Telker will round out your, I nearly said 8th row. They'll round out your top 8 with your 4th row, with Alan Degassis and Jim Brewster, the 2 Masters drivers, rounding out your top 10.
Yeah, and then we have Ken Poulin in 11th, Scott Brayler in 12th, Jeff Jacobson in 13th, Sander Verbruge in 14th, John Toms in 15th, Travis Rail in 16th, Kurt Nunez in 17th, Leon Frost in 18th, 19th is Dan Stasinski, Michael Chaluro in 20th, Nick Tolo in 21st, Hank Milley in 22nd, Jason Grider in 23rd, Wayne Buttermore in 24th, and then our last few drivers here, Brian Hansen, Thomas Puda, Joshua Flores, Daniel Salmon, and Chris Scriven rounding out the field in 29th.
So that is going to be your starting grid for the third race of this Formula V Weekend Warriors season, a season which has seen it all. It's seen some very good racing, some drivers occasionally coming to blows, but just some brilliant racing action thrown in the midst of all of it as well. I'm expecting a good one here. Let's just wait and see how it's going to be between now and the checkered flag of this 30-minute long race that we have coming up. Happy to have you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting for this race, and while you're here, have to hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action. But with that shameless plug about as slick as 80 grit sandpaper notwithstanding, let's get this race underway. The pace car down pit lane, the field down the hands of our pole sitter, the green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. Jason Green getting off to a flyer. He's going to try and lead them as comfortably as he can, heading off into turn number 1. But as it's such a long run down into that first heavy braking zone, it's never a guarantee regardless of what kind of start you get off to. Heading down into that first corner, Nate Colascio looking to fight hard on the inside at side-by-side racing with himself and Jesus Rodriguez coming out of the first corner. Some drivers nearly bump drafting coming out of it. Here's the number 4 car, Samuel Parent, who we're running on board with now. This is into turn number 3. He's got 3 cars covered by practically nothing right in front of him. This is a real trouble spot. It bottlenecks these racers after side-by-side and 3-wide action. You can see a little bit of these drivers fanning out, kicking some dirt up into the air coming out of that section. Now here's the trouble spot, the Tine Twisties. It starts off with this kink, turn number 4. Super difficult to try and get it woed up into turn number 5. Seen some drivers come to blows there in races past, and I think we've actually gone away with one. Actually, no, as I say that, we have a driver going for a half spin.
Oh, yeah, that was almost right on cue there. As you said it, he went off the road, but looks like he got control of it there, so some good driving. I believe that was Tom's that went off the road there quickly, but it looks like we have single filed out here, so we made our first lap through those really, really technical, hard sections there where, you know, the first lap's very difficult around here in a few spots, and it looks like we've cleared the first lap pretty well here, so we are racing single file, and man, oh man, that is going to be a long snake of cars for a while, I think, as Colascio pulling out to look for a pass here on Jason Green as we're going 3 wide.
Ooh, here we go. 3 wide down into turn number 1. Get used to this, folks. We're going to be seeing a lot between now and the checkered flag. These racers going to put a good one here side by side between Coliseo and Rodriguez. That's nearly going to end in tears for Rodriguez. Got dangerously close to that outside dirt and outside gravel trap, heading off through turn number 1 and 2. Thankfully avoided it without any further issue. But as it stands at the moment, it's still close quarters stuff. Look at that, Samuel Parent getting that move done to slip his way up into P2. Marzuki dropping down a little bit, some side-by-side racing with himself and Jim Brewster. Not going very well for the Italian. Coming out of turn number 3, Nick Fleck learning quando fleur, and I'm occasionally speaking in tongues on this show. It's so difficult to keep track with these Formula V drivers. You think, okay, the race is finally settling into a groove. Then we got 4 wide action down the start-finish straight away.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it goes here. As a producer as well, it becomes very, very hard to kind of find where the action is. We're seeing a little bit of 2 wide driving here. Oh, and we've got a bit of a pileup in the back. Looks like Laturo, Scriven, Grider. And yeah, that's a bit of a pileup. We will have to get a replay there. But again, in that section that just gets so tight in there, and it's so tempting to try to go for a pass or go for a dive, and I'm guessing that's what happened here, but we'll jump back and have a quick look and see if we can't find out what happened here, Ron.
Oh my God, look at that. That's 4 cars stopped, 3 wide, heading off through the exit of turn number 7. That's obviously going to result in some lawn mowing action. Let's take a look at these drivers heading off through the Titan Twisties. I said right during that first lap that it was going to end in tears for some racers, and it was a big stack up. I think Jeff Jacobson going side by side with Kurt Nunez caused all of it, having drivers mount on top of each other. Oh boy, don't take that quote out of context. Heading off through turn number 6, 7, and 8. Some drivers down in pit lane trying to repair the damage on their race cars. Hank Mell getting a piece of that action. Michael Latarulo, Nick Tullo, and Jason Grider running at the drivers currently classed outside of the top 25. I believe all of them had at least a part of that or had a front seat view of it all.
Yeah, it looked like it. Unfortunately, just a bit of a roadblock there. As you said, we had a car kind of climb another one. Just, not maybe the best spatial awareness, or just missed the brake a little bit there, got checked up on, but either way it resulted in a tire climbing a tire and then causing a roadblock, and there's not a whole lot a few of the drivers could do there, unfortunately. But looks like we've got a pass up here at front. Samuel Parent getting by Nate Coliseo. I believe this is... Oh no, I was going to say maybe it was on the straightaway, but nope. It looks like he's going to take him on the inside here before that scary left-hander with the dirt on the outside. It looks like they're going to kind of go 2 wide here for a bit, and then I would imagine, he's just going to let him file in there and take the lead for now, and I would think that's going to change right away as we come back here, and Coliseo already going for it as we are just a pack of cars here at the front.
Yeah, that's the thing when it comes to doing these broadcasts, and Josh, considering you're the producer, I feel like you can attest to this a bit more than I can. It's like, here's a replay of some 4 wide action that we cut away from that replay, and it looks like we didn't cut away from anything as it's still 4 wide action. So that really speaks volumes. That these drivers, season in and season out, they just will not stop when it comes to the side-by-side racing. Great for us. I think some of these drivers probably have high blood pressure as a result, but that's neither here nor there. Jason Green using the smoke screen tactic on Felix Samoa as Al's heading all through turn number 3, hit the gravel trap on the outside. That gravel trap is rather dangerous around here. Pretty much everyone has hit that gravel trap at some point. Even if you don't have a moment heading off through there, you'll still just run a little bit wide, maybe miss that apex. Heading off through turn 3 by a matter of like a foot, a little bit more, a little bit less. Then you're just going to drift off into the gravel trap. And with the reworked gravel physics, not only dragging that stuff onto the racing surface, but also acting like a bit of a brick wall that these drivers will slam into every now and then. That's going to slow you up quite a lot. So that gravel trap, even more of a blue shell than it was some seasons ago.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is, isn't it? I think everybody who's ever been on this track, that's probably one of the first places you go off the track. And then you continue to go off it for the rest of your iRacing career, trying to push it through that section. It's just, it looks like a corner, but it's actually like threading a needle through there. You need to just get it perfect as we're going 2 wide here with Rouge and Coliseo into T1. We're going to see this over and over and over again into T1. And as we see, we're going up into this section I was just speaking about here. And it's really, really finite through here. You have to get it just right. You want to get as wide as you can. And if you touch that inside curb, it kind of upsets you to the outside. It's just so finite through there. You have to get it just right. And like you were saying, that the the gravel on the outside is definitely going to slow you down. I think I've touched it a few times, and actually, if you just kind of skim it, maybe that's the best line you can get. But if you dip a tire in it, like you said, it's like hitting Velcro, and you're going to slow down.
And I would make a sound to imitate Velcro, but I don't believe I can do such a thing. And frankly, I do not want to try that for the first time on one of these broadcasts. I will leave that be. Jeff Jacobson has had some sort of moment. He's come into the pits in the number 40 car. We kind of saw a stack up with him cause that drama heading off through this very same section of the racetrack through 6 and 7. So not sure if there's been some sort of extracurricular moment for him. This may have been it. I don't have a good feeling about this. 3 wide down into turn number 1. He's on the outside in that purple and white car with the green accents. And let's wait and see. Some banging doors. Oh, no.
Okay, we're going to have to look at that again, because that may have been the best axle-to-axle two-wheel bump I've ever seen right here. Let's just have a look. Car on the inside, the orange car on the inside there. Bonk. Just knocked him with his axle to the outside, and then did the same thing to Jacobson, but unfortunately really, really upset him that time. And yeah, I mean, the first one almost looked like it was like a, hey, get out of my way, and then the second one, I think he was just trying to gather the car after the first hit there, and unfortunately collected Jacobson in the process.
Yeah, that was just a messy incident. Hang down into turn number 1 and 2 as we nearly see some side-by-side racing action. Now is going to be involving Guido Marzucchi and Alan DeGassis. It looks like they single-filed out rather easily and rather quickly. I think side-by-side racing down into turn number 5 rarely, if ever, ends well. That section, I call it the Tine Twisties for a very good reason. You know the best way I could compare it? It's like one of those bendy straws that you see a child drinking a thing of chocolate milk out of in an Olive Garden. That is a very niche analogy. That's the only sort of like comparison that I have that pops into my mind at the exact point in time. Add that one to the list. Holy cow, I could probably have a coffee break with all the strange crap I've said on the air over the years. But nevertheless, through that section, side-by-side racing with little to no runoff area, it's either going to end 2 ways. It's either going to end bad or terribly. That could have ended worse, though, with Jesus Rodriguez nearly trying to go for a move off into the dirt and make it 3 wide with Samuel Parents and Nate Coliseo. That could have ended in tears. It's still going to result in a side-by-side fight between Coliseo and Parent. Another one involving Samoas and Jesus Rodriguez. Felix Samoas in that number 31 car is a driver that we have to keep tabs on a lot. As much as he may be the reigning Spec Racer Ford champion here in the Weekend Warriors world, he's won both races in the Formula Fords thus far, and he's also been in contention for some of these FV wins as well. Felix Samoa, a very strong competitor in that number 31 car, currently finds himself in 3rd at the moment. He may be someone we have to keep tabs on between now and the end.
Yeah, definitely. He's he's a thinker in the car for sure, like a Jason Green type, definitely, or maybe a Felix Samoas type. Not sure which one came first, but there's he definitely likes to think in there, and he's always going to be a threat. You can see him. He's moved up a little bit here, and he's kind of just, again, I always just feel like he's biding his time. Like he's thinking something. He's got something up his sleeve all the time, and genuinely, I'm right about that. He does have something up his sleeve, and we're watching Jesus Rodriguez here doing very well today as well, trying to get up closer to these guys. And you got to wonder, if they're out there just kind of biding their time a little bit. We saw Jesus last time taking some kind of interesting outside the box lines here on the straightaway in the grass to look for a pass there. Hopefully we don't see too much more of that, but looks like we're gonna hopefully make it through the corner here. Yeah, and it looks like, we're going to see this back and forth. We got a really good group of drivers out here in the front, and I expect to see kind of back and forth. Anybody in this group, Jim Brewster now kind of joining the party as well as Parvinder Ladar.
And Jim Brewster is someone we're certainly going to have to mention throughout this. He's always the one, obviously he's a series admin, so it stands to reason that he's usually going to be very fast here. But at the same time, he always finds himself just prevailing in situations like that. Always keeps the calm, cool, and collected head. Finds himself in 6th at the present moment, your current Masters leader. And we'll also note that Jurg Mani not here this week, so the janitor not really playing into that card thus far here in Season 2 of 2025, so went very fast, though. Don't get us wrong at all. But Jim Brewster finds himself in the Masters lead currently, and Parvinder Ladar is your current leader in Spec 2. Those two drivers running the line of stern at the present moment can catch all of your class leaders in that same camera shot. I don't know why I suddenly got a British accent there as I said camera shot. Nate Colicio, though, the number 8 car, currently leading. I say currently, as now it's going to be Felix Samoas in the race lead. Can never say who's in the race lead because it will age like milk in the Nevada sun literally 15 seconds later. Side by side, down into turn at number 1. Felix Samoas looking to grab that race lead, and with a good run coming out of it, he will be able to do that. But Colicio actually going to have the momentum on the inside. As Russ Delker had a terrible run through 1 and 2.
Yeah, it looks like Telker kind of got pushed out there, perhaps. Perhaps it was a too wide battle going on right beside him. Let's have a quick look here. I think maybe either that or he was actually taking some kind of evasive. I think maybe. Oh yeah, it was a little bit evasive there. Almost got into the back of the fart car, but was able to control it. Yeah, gotta love saying fart car, by the way.
Yeah, that could have been a stinky maneuver if that resulted in tears, but thankfully it did not. But it ended in a rather odd way. We'll say actually no. The next pun will be an incident with the fart card ended in a foul way. There we go. That's that maybe if we see Guido run in what's the name of the Mission R, the Porsche here on iRacing. Just if he ends up taking a driver ad in a Porsche Mission R, we can say it was set up for that.
Yeah, well, hopefully he won't do that. Nobody wants to drive that car anyway. Does that car even exist in the service anymore? I don't think it. Does it have a series still? Because we're going too wide here.
We are seeing too wide action. Thank you very much, Guido, for taking us out of a rather
bailing us out,
discussion here. Oh, holy cow! Look at that, Scott Brailer in the 210 car, making it 3 wide out of nowhere. What in the world? Yikes. Holy cow! These drivers 3 wide on exit. Marzuki nearly getting hung out to dry on the outside line. I have an absolutely terrible feeling about this, and right as I say that, they come to blows.
That was
Nostradamus,
bound to happen.
Me, whatever you want to say, it was going to happen with 3 wide action.
I am not sure what Scott Brailer had for breakfast, but he was not playing ball there at all. He decided to come in there, almost got into the back of Guido on that pass, and then just decided to be like, nope, track is mine. I'm going to stay right here. And that's what's going to happen when you do that. The Bullet Bill car, getting pretty froggy there. Unfortunately, kind of forced Guido off the road a little bit, but it's kind of hard to tell, from here, from inside, from above like this. And I guess we'll let the stewards deal with that one.
Dude, that was a very bizarre series of events. I've been doing this broadcasting stuff for over 2 years at this point. This is my 101st show of the year, and for the first time my entire time doing broadcasting, that was the quickest I've gone from making fart jokes to having to commentate a crash. So, wow, many odd things happen here in the Formula V Weekend Warrior Series, and that was pretty good proof of it. But the action still got to continue with drivers packed in like sardines down into turn number 1. Let's see who's going to burst out of the can first. Felix Samoas finds himself in the race lead. Nate Colicio in P2. Samuel Parent running at your podium. Still got the likes of Jesus Rodriguez, Jim Brewster, Jason Green, Parvin Ladar all involved in this pack at the present moment. Not giving us a single opportunity to breathe in the first half.
Yeah, no, we know how it races around here, and we're seeing Jason Green kind of getting shuffled back. This is and he's going to start thinking here. We're about halfway through the race that I don't want to be this far back. He's got to start making some moves here pretty soon, or he could end up losing that front pack potentially. So he's going to want to make some moves here pretty quick. Jim Brewster looking really good today. And, I've raced, I've said it more than a few times here, I've raced Jim Brewster a bunch, and he's going to race you, man. He's going to, he's always very clean, and he knows how to put a shoulder up, and it's really hard to get around him sometimes. And, or vice versa, he's chasing you down, and you're just like, I can't shake this guy. And that kind of seems to be sort of what's happening to Jason Green here, and we'll see how it goes. It's getting pretty froggy up front. We're just hoping it's going to stay clean.
It's getting froggy. I think I said this last time we had a race here. It's getting froggy, and we're waiting to see which one of them is going to wake up all of them on the lily pad. Which one's going to be the first to rib it? 3 wide action nearly. It was 3 wide for about a split second, but it quickly single filed back out. Never mind, they are still side by side, but regardless, it went from 3 wide to a slightly less terrifying bout of side by side action down that start finish straightaway. As much as you can fit 3 and 4 wide down that start finish straightaway here at this track, it's also, I can't even say it's playing like fire. It's like playing with firecrackers inside of a gas tank.
Yeah, not good. No doubt. It's definitely a volatile situation for sure. And it's like every lap into T1 and through that twisty section there is pretty volatile. Sorry, as we see Brayler going off the road in that section that just begs you to go off the road here, and he's going to lose a position because of that. Real easy spot to do something like that. I mean, I don't think I've gotten through a race here at Summit Point where I didn't get into that gravel at least once, and it's just a hard spot to stay out of as we see him going through kind of the tight, twisty section here. It's got a pretty good line, nice and tight. Want to keep it fairly tight through here. Get on the gas as much as you can. This is all flat if you get it right. Take a little bit of curb here, and then just flat out through here, hoping that you can get kind of a drag or a draft to the person in front of you. But Scott Brayler kind of falling back a little bit now after touching the dirt there. It looks like perhaps he maybe got a bit of car damage here as he's going to pull in.
Yeah, Scott Brayler coming in, and again, unlike the other Weekend Warriors series that we have here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, which you can catch every single weekend, don't have to worry about pit stops here in this series. So if you're coming down pit lane, you've got some damage or you've got some sort of penalty. Either way, though, for Scott Brayler, that's not going to help him out at all in the 210 car. I'm actually going to double check as we see this. Travis Rail does have a black flag, I will let you know that, but Scott Brayler does not, so that has to be some sort of outstanding damage on that race car. Nate Colacio just got moved on Samuel Parent down into turn number 3 to slip his way up into the race lead, and that is pure just absolute insanity. The biggest gap in that camera shot at the moment is the one between Parvin Ladar and Jim Brewster, which is about 0.2 of a second. Again, it is a very fluid situation, so as soon as I said that bit of color commentary, it aged like milk in the Nevada sun. But have it be known that that pack is incredibly intense, and some more side-by-side racing going on right behind them.
Yeah, we got a few packs kind of forming up now. We're a little bit past halfway. This is when the drivers start to kind of look for the finish, right? So I would imagine that everybody just had a little bing light bulb in their head, and they're like, okay, I got to get in front of this guy now. We're getting pretty close, and that's sort of what happens at this time of the race. You're going to sort of shift your focus to the guy in front of you, and maybe I can get that position sort of thing. And that's probably what's happening sort of around the track right now. Is we have a few packs kind of packed up. Jim Brewster leading in the Masters, Parvin Ladar leading in Spec 2, Samuel Parent leading in Spec 1, at least for now. That'll change momentarily, back and forth at least till the end. And Guido Marzucci getting really shuffled down the order here, back in 15th now, so not having a great outing today.
Yeah, it's been a torrid time for Marzucchi as of recent here in this race. So keep his chin up and his nose plugged that he'll be able to have a good finish to this race at the end of it in the fart car. Yes, those jokes will continue on all throughout this season. Mm-hmm. And yes, to all of you tuning into this broadcast, I feel just as ashamed at making those jokes as I should. Following Nate Colacio at the moment in the number 6 car, he is your race leader, Samuel Parent, slotted right behind in P2, Jesus Rodriguez, rounding out your podium. And as much as I've been talking about him a lot throughout this race, really his performance has proved why I'm keeping an eye on him. Jesus Rodriguez in that number 76 car. This is probably the best performance we've seen out of Rodriguez since, I don't know, I'd probably have to say season 3 of 2024, the last time he won the championship here in the Formula V Weekend Warriors. So you have to go back to nearly the summer of 2024 to find a performance which has been as standoutish as Rodriguez's has been thus far here at Summit Point. He's a driver that I think we really need to keep tabs on in that 76 cars. I think he's about to get moved on to slip his way up to second.
Yeah, definitely. It looks like, we've seen him in other races where you can tell that he's like, I'm probably just going to kind of hang back here a little bit. I'm not going to go for it. I feel like today, right from the outset, Jesus was like, I can win this one, and I'm going to try to win it. And it looks like that's exactly what he's doing here. He's kind of slowly made it up. Again, I was saying at the top of the show there that he can be a pretty exciting driver to watch because he does take some risks every once in a while. And he hasn't taken a lot of risks today right up until now. He's been very, very clean, and we haven't really had, although we have mentioned him quite a bit there, it hasn't been because he's doing anything crazy or frenetic or anything like that, as he takes the lead of the race here pretty smoothly and in a pretty commanding way there through the twisty bits. So Yeah, I think you're right, Ron. He's got a real good chance today. I think he's playing his cards here, kind of showing his cards. If I was him, I would probably be doing this as well. I'd let somebody buy me here, and then near the end I would strike. But we'll see how it goes. These races can either go really, really good at the end or end up in a 6-car pileup. So we'll see how it goes.
Jesus Rodriguez, in his general driving style in that 76 car, he's usually rather concealed in terms of the pace that he shows off. He's not the flashiest driver in the world. He's usually just there lurking in the background, quietly scheming, and then he pounces, strikes that iron while it's still hot, and works out very, very well for him. Knowing my luck, though, I'm probably going to jinx him. He's going to end up hitting one of the trees around here in a couple of laps time. For now, though, we got some 3-wide action going on right behind some of these racers, involving Sander Verbruge, Alan Degastis, and Ken Poulin. They single file out off into turn number 1, with Verbruge getting the move done to jump his way up into 8th. That's for net P2 in that Spec 2 category. I say net P2, it is P2 in that Spec 2 category. And Ken Poulin currently running in 3rd. He's got a challenge with Russ Telker, though, so that may be a swaparoo waiting to happen for that final spot on the Spec 2 podium. And we also have Alan Degassis involved in that battle as well. Degassis in the 927, currently trying to get a move done down the inside of Verbruge off into turn number 4. That's a sketchy spot to go for an overtake at, because it leads you hung out to dry on the outside line, hang off through turn number 5. But Verbruge taking it oh so careful off through turn number 5, going to allow Degassis to slip his way up to 8th. That was well done from the driver of the 927.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not an easy place to pass there. It usually doesn't work out, but we can see here, you try to take the outside, you sort of have to play ball. The guy beside you kind of has to play ball with you a little bit here. And yeah, as you said, it really leaves you with a lot of momentum into this corner. You try to get it woed up, and he did a really good job of just kind of taking the wide line there, cutting back over, and he was able to do it. But that's definitely with a little bit of help from the Max Verstappen car there for sure of Sander Verbruge, which is a pretty cool livery, by the way, I might add.
For Sander Verbruge. That was the worst ever cover of the other Max Verstappen song that you will ever hear in your entire time here.
Well, it's a pretty bad song, so.
yeah, that's. And pretty sure the bass of that song gives me a migraine, albeit I have the personality of a 95-year-old man, so that may contribute to it a little bit. Look at that, Nate Coliseo sweeping around the outside, off into turn number 3, withstanding that challenge from Felix Samoas. Jesus Rodriguez, as I was giving him some praise, dropped back down to 5th. He's now back up to 3rd, was at one point in the race lead. That isn't telling of anything. That just shows you how these races can be a glorified game of leapfrog. Just one that's played at about 100 miles an hour on a racetrack instead of being played at about a half mile an hour on a playground. But still, it shows that Jesus Rodriguez, despite the fact he's been very quick in this race, he's not going to be immune from dropping back down and making his way back up. That game of leapfrog inflicts everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a push and pull game that you absolutely have to play. If you try to fight it too hard, all you do is let everybody else catch up to you. So, when somebody starts drafting you, to play ball, and if you want to stay up front and you want to have a chance at winning, you need to let them pass you down the straightaway. You have to. If you try to block them and slow them down, or as we're seeing here, too wide, and you're probably going to see, there won't be a lot of fighting. We're getting into that point now, 5 minutes left, where you are going to start seeing fighting into T1 here, and you will start seeing people slow down a bit as they're trying to kind of get the lead of the race. But usually you want to try to keep as much momentum as you can up and not lose a bunch so the people behind you catch you. But we're sort of past that section of the race now, and now we're looking for the lead, I would imagine, for most people here with about just under 5 minutes left drawn. It's getting pretty frenetic out there.
Yeah, it's getting dicey, it's getting racy. These drivers going for some moves that they probably would not have gone for before. Look at that, 2x2, nearly 2x3, heading off into turn number 4. These drivers deciding that now is the time to go for the moves, and will these drivers go for some moves that end in disaster, or will it be one that ends in a trip to victory lane? Let's just wait and see. Side-by-side racing maybe got flare up between Jason Green and Jim Brewster. It looks like they're single file off through 8 and 9 at the present moment. Felix Samoas now finds himself in the race lead. Jesus Rodriguez currently in P2, so I will call it right now. We're not going to see Felix Samoas leading, heading through turn number 1 right now. I can't say coming out of it, because that section, anything could happen. I remember the Spec Racer Ford race here last season in the Weekend Warriors, and the field basically blowing apart, heading down into all that. And I think Felix Samoas was involved in all of that, but now he's got to find himself in the midst of a side-by-side fight, maybe even a 3-wide one. Look at Nate Coliseum on the 8 machine. He's got to try and sweep around the both of those racers on the inside line. Look at that, Coliseum down the inside, gonna lick the stamp and send it to take the race lead, but Rodriguez still close.
Yep, that was a pretty standard one up the inside there. You're going to get that drafted for the inside car. You got the best line, and you're probably going to come out ahead, and that's exactly what happened to Nate Coliseum here. So people taking notes there, I would imagine if you can get that inside line going in, you're probably going to come out in first, although I'm not sure that's where you want to be on the last lap here, Ron. So, you know, it always is sort of a game of chess here, whether or not you're going to be able to get that draft. You know, you got to just kind of time everything right, be in the right position, and then sort of hope for the best. But I have a feeling we're going to be, you know, pretty darn close over the line here with a bunch of cars, and we are coming around here. You know, we're going to have maybe 2-3 laps left, three laps left, 4 laps maybe, and we'll be calling it here. So the time is now to find that position, get your strategy, and then hope it works out and be ready to switch, right? Like I always say, everybody's got a really good idea of how a fight's going to go till you get a punch in the nose, and then everything changes. And that's sort of how it goes here as well. You know, you can have an idea of how things are going to go, and then all of a sudden you're 4 wide with 4 cars that you didn't think were going to be there, and you got to kind of think on the fly. And that's exactly what's going to happen as Jesus Rodriguez here looking for the lead again.
We're at the stage of the race where these drivers are going to go for last-second decisions, and whether those last-second decisions result in disaster or result in a win, that remains to be determined. Look at Samuel Parent in that 4 car, trying to get moved on Coliseum, runs a little bit wide, heading off through 1 and 2. Hit that gravel, that's not going to help out his cause one bit. These drivers are going to be taking the white next time by, I believe. Then the race is going to get super intense. Jesus Rodriguez back into the race lead. Samuel Parent slipping into second. Nate Coliseum finds himself in third. Felix Samoas, Jason Green running at your top 5. Jim Brewster and Parvin Lador still kind of involved in this pack. Lador dropping back a little bit. He's your current leader in Spec 2. And Jim Brewster, your 6th place runner overall at the present moment, is your leader in the Masters category. Both those drivers pretty much out of harm's way when it comes to swapperoos in that class. So I think the main fight is going to be for the overall win in this race and the Spec 1 win as well. As much as it may be a battle of class wins, these drivers are scored by their points in terms of their overall position. So even if you're a Masters driver, a win is a win regardless of who you are. That's going to make a huge difference at the end of this race. What these drivers are going to do, what they're going to be willing to put on the line is a thing that these drivers are going to have to think about. The white flag in the air. Jesus Rodriguez swapping sides of the racetrack down that start-finish straight away. Wants to break that draft, but he's going to be a sitting duck hang down into turn number 1 for the last time. Samuel Parent in the 4 car, the series debut for him, trying to get the win in his first ever race. But Coliseum, he's been in situations like this before. He goes for that move around the outside. Parent, a little bit slow in that midline, heading off through 1 and 2. That's not going to allow Felix Samoas and the number 31 machines come oh so close to victory thus far this season. He's now going to try and get a move done to slip his way up into third side by side, though, between Coliseum and Rodriguez down into turn number 3. Avoid that gravel trap. That's not something Rodriguez did, but contact for Coliseum. He gets spun out of all that. Not sure who that was that sent him around, but either way, Coliseum in that 8 car going to end up with that falling infill, striking him flat on the top of his head. It's now Felix Samoas in second in the midst of all of that. He's going to be in the catbird seat with Jesus Rodriguez in the race lead coming out turn number 7 into turn number 8 in a few moments' time. As much as he may find himself in the race lead, he's going to be the one punching the hole in the air, and that's not the spot to be in at the end of this race. We saw it last season. We saw it the season before. We see it just about any single time there's a draft-heavy race here at Summit Point, and I have a feeling that here for Season 2 of 2025, we're going to another case of deja vu. Felix Samoas focusing on getting a good run. He hits the gravel. That's not going to help out his case one bit, and Jesus Rodriguez, in the miracle of all miracles, it looks like he's got to hold off Felix Samoas. Jesus Rodriguez, for the first time in nearly 2 seasons, is going to win a race that isn't in Lebanon. Well done to Jesus Rodriguez. Unbelievable stuff at the end of that race.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing that he was able to hold on to it there over the line. That was a great finish there from everybody. Super clean driving. What a great race, Ron. That was a good one. This place always throws up some great racing. It's so hard, you know, at times to actually follow all of the all of the action that's going on out there, as we're getting just close finishes all around the field here as well. Got a couple more drivers finishing. Good race between Daniel Salmon and Flores here, it looks like. Pretty good stuff, man. That was a pretty awesome awesome last lap. Let's see if we can't get a bit of a replay here of how that all worked out. I'm so surprised he was able to hold on to it here.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. You can see that's what won him the race. It wasn't even anything that Jesus Rodriguez did. It was running wide for Felix Mounz coming out of that final corner. You could see that gap between those two was about a car length at the line. And I wonder how much that run through the gravel trap hurt him at the end of that race. As soon as I saw him go off, I didn't want to say it in the call to the finish, but as soon as I saw Samoa's run wide, hit that gravel trap and kick all of that dust up in the air, I knew that it was going to be Jesus Rodriguez. Unless he missed a shift, it was going to be his for the taking. Lots of drivers went for trips through that gravel trap coming out of that final corner at the end of that race, but well done. Credit where credit is due to Jesus Rodriguez. I'm not going to say I called it, but I am going to say that I had Jesus Rodriguez penciled as a driver we should keep tabs on all throughout this race, and look how well that aged. I'm going to take pride in myself for the fact that happened. Usually, I like to say that my commentator's jinxes are absolutely horrendous. For the first time in, I think, nearly 2 years and some change of doing iRacing broadcast, it actually aged well. So well done to me, I guess, and well done to all those drivers. That was a good one. It wasn't the barn burner that we saw one season ago, but that was a tough act to follow for that race at some point one season ago. That was an instant classic. Even though it wasn't the instant classic that the race was last season, still an absolute barn burner here at Summit Point, and what a way to keep this season going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Ron. I'm just a little busy production here if you want to take over for a moment.
Yeah, it's just been a good one here at Summit Point, and as we see these drivers litter this racetrack, I still have a thing, an idea that I think these drivers should do in, I guess it would be only 2 weeks' time now, at least here in the U.S., is have an Easter, sort of like an Easter egg hunt for these Formula V cars. That would be nice. I mean, we're in the midst of the NASCAR Darlington weekend, so I have a feeling
we're lining something up here, Ron.
Nice
something is about to happen.
Yeah. We're waiting for a mass jump down into down that start finish straight away. So that's what we're lining up for here in a couple of moments. It's like waiting for a marathon to start, but usually a marathon ends with a winner being declared. Here it just ends in a bunch of race cars getting torn all to hell. So it's gonna be slightly different here. We're gonna follow Jason Green in all that. He's usually the leader of these jumps, and let's see who sticks the landing, who ballparks it almost immediately, and who accrues the most amount of damage on their race car. There you can see heading down into the jump. Holy cow, up in the air. That's about 25 feet. Jason Green lawn darts at 12. Oh my god, wow, okay. You can see he nearly turned into a twister there.
That has got to be one of the biggest ones I've ever seen, I think, there from Jason Green. That was a massive launch. And man, we love to see that every time. Let's see if we can't get maybe a replay of that. Oh yeah, here we go. Yeah, you can see kind of the gyro effect happening there from the engine and so on as well, and the tires, and just getting ballparked into the trees. Always good fun at the end of these ones, Ron.
Just teeter-tottering. You can see him teeter-tottering through the air. That was kind of fun. I will always contend that as much as iRacing may be as realistic as it can get, I'm going to refrain from making any jokes about iRacing on the platform that is, because last time I did that, my iRacing proceeded to crash on me every now and then for the 3 weeks that followed, and I also don't want to lose my job doing iRacing broadcasts on iRacing's YouTube channel. I'm just going to say that if you hit the gas and the brakes whenever you're up in the air, there will definitely be something that gets messed with on the car. I guess it's a momentum of the motor stopping or something. I don't know. You can tell I'm not an engineer, so I'm just going to leave it at that. So anyways, I think with all of that being said, we should probably move off into some interviews. We're going to, I think we will We're gonna start with Jim Brewster, our winner at the end of this race in the Masters category. We're gonna drag him into the commentary booth in a few moments' time. I'm not sure if Jesus Rodriguez will be joining us in the interview waiting area, so I guess we'll just have two. But always nice to have a chat with Jim at the end of these races. Jim, welcome into the booth and well done on the Masters win. How was it out there?
Well, I was up with the front pack, which is a good place to be. The front pack was a little crazy today, as you saw. We were going 2 and 3 wide into strange places, so we weren't running very fast lap times. And every once in a while, somebody in that back pack would go, if we could get in the line, we could catch them. They're not going that fast.
Yeah, I was going to note that whenever we come here to Summit Point, there's always that discrepancy. You got the front pack where it feels like all of you are kind of slowing each other down, and then there's like a tail chasing pack that's always like, oh, we can get them if they have some sort of incident, or if they're just slowing each other down up enough, we could catch them. I think we saw a little bit of deja vu with that here in this race.
Yeah, I actually heard somebody on the radio was wishing for a net code up front for us, but so it's funny because I was just telling Parvinder I didn't want to be the last guy in that frame. So at first I just wanted to get away from Alan. I saw he was back there, and I knew we were the two masters up front, and I just wanted to get a gap, so I was staying in the line. But then once we had a couple seconds, I said, if I get an opportunity, I'll hop over one more spot. And so I got ahead of Parvinder, then I played back and forth with Jason a little bit. But anyway, but then I think Jason was playing it safe, and he's a good guy to follow because he's so quick. But it's hard to. I'm sure in his head, he's thinking he needs the points, so I'm sure he was probably happier with a fourth instead of a DNF. I wanted the Masters win, so you start hedging your bets. You start saying, you could dive in there, but it's probably not worth it.
And cooler heads prevailing at the end of this race. I remember the race here one season ago where we had
The classic.
it was an absolute classic. What's funny about all that is, despite the fact that I was on the iRacing Bathurst 12-hour show earlier on that day, it was a clip from the Formula V race that ended up being shared on the iRacing social media pages.
You bet. Yeah, 4 wide finish. That was an all-time classic. Anyway, want to say hi to Tam. I just spent a week with our mom. I was on vacation for a week, and it was enjoyable. And so I hope Tam enjoyed this race. It's fun to be up front. And even like I said, we're complaining they're going side by side and going a little slower, but that makes for a great show. So hey, you can't complain too loud, right?
Oh, we cannot complain about that one bit. It's always a fantastic race here from the Formula V Weekend Warriors. Always good to commentate on as well, even if it gives my vocal cords a bit of an exercise. But Jim, you put on a fantastic league, and always good to have a chat with you. Well done on your second Masters win of the season as well, by the way.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Anyway, thanks for all the things you guys do. I think Andrew was a sponsor today. He's down playing Grandpop today, so I'm sure he'll be back next week or something. So I'll see you guys next week.
Alrighty, sounds good, man. Jim, thank you for joining us, and congratulations. And that right there is Jim Brewster, your winner here in the Masters category. His second win in the Masters class this season. Won the opening race of the season at Cadwell Park, and he wins it here today at Summit Point. And I think we will get a chance to have a chat with a first-time winner here from this season, that being Parviner Ladar, our Spec 2 winner. Josh, would you like to take dibs on Ladar and have a chat with our Spec 2 winner?
Yeah, sure. If we can't drag him in here. Hey, Parvinder, how's it going? It looks like it was a pretty tight race out there, and you pretty much gapped the S2 field. Was that just because you were able to kind of keep touch with the guys in front of you there in the front pack, or did you feel like you just had a bit more pace than the S2 guys today?
Hey guys, how are you doing? I guess I was just tailing the front pack and trying to be careful, because they were quite rowdy. Although we were going quite slow, and I guess the pack behind me was battling and didn't take the opportunity. So yeah, it was quite a comfortable drive for me.
Excellent. Yeah, so you've got lots of experience around here and stuff, I would imagine, as we all do. What's kind of maybe your most technical or least favorite part of this track? We were talking about it a bunch every time we come here, just that we all get to drive this track quite a bit, but it's got some pretty unique challenges there. What would you say is kind of the hardest part of this track?
I guess for me, it's the uncertainty of the last turn, because sometimes you can take it flat out, sometimes you can't, and if you are on a draft, you gotta really time it well. Otherwise, you're gonna lose a bunch of time down the straight. Or you could overshoot and cause an incident. So yeah, that's
Yeah,
the
it
way
is
it
one of
goes.
those, isn't it? It's a very, very kind of important corner, and for some reason, every time I come around a lap, that corner just it's probably the same with you. It sounds like that. I just think about it a lot for some reason, and as I'm entering it, because that drag down the front is so important, and getting that draft is so important around here. But great win on S2 today, Parvenders. Anybody you'd like to thank out there?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, you guys, yeah, you're my favorite broadcaster among all of them, and and to the admins and the WW team, as well as all the Weekend Warriors. It's an amazing family, and I hope we can keep it that way. Yeah, thank you.
Excellent, right on, Parvender. So we'll see you next week, and thanks for coming in.
Okay, thanks.
And that right there was Parvender Ladar, your Spec 2 winner at the end of this race here at Summit Point. His first Spec 2 win of this season, so well done to him. Well done to Jesus Rodriguez, and also well done to Jim Brewster for being your winners in all three of the classes at the end of this third round of the championship. But Josh, we got the Saxon Ring coming up in 1 week's time. That track hosted a Formula Ford race last season in the Weekend Warriors. It's not a track that you get a whole lot of use out of on the iRacing platform, but it's a fun one nonetheless. It's also pretty quick, and I think these Formula V drivers are going to put a show on in 1 week's time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. We always get such a good show out of the drivers around here. The field is thick, the field is fast, and I think we're probably just going to continue getting awesome races out of everybody. Only round 3 here, and we're seeing just some amazing finishes and stuff already, Ron. So really looking forward to the rest of the season here for sure.
Yeah, really looking forward to the rest of the races that we have coming up. We're only a third, actually a third, you can tell I'm great with math. We're only a quarter of the way through this season. Have a lot of racing action coming up for you here in the Weekend Warriors. Just a lot of stuff coming up for you here on Slow Motion Broadcasting as a whole. Of course, the Weekend Warriors, they put on some great races week in and week out, but the action does not stop with this race. We got the action from the Formula Fords and all that stuff coming up tomorrow, but here's the schedule. The American Muscle Series, you can catch them on Tuesdays at 9:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Some old-fashioned Mustang racing action. That's always a good show on Tuesday nights. Then we return for one final running of Wild Card Wednesdays here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. For one last time, we have got the Ray Esports Club Racing League and the Sim Racers Group F4 Championship running on the exact same day. The Ray Esports Club Racing League only have one more round left to go. It's the season finale for Group 3. Got some Formula V's and Spec Racer Fords running in that race. That'll be the final round of that championship. The Sim Racers Group Series, though, they're just barely into Season 2 of 2025 for their championship. Then come time for the weekends, we have got you booked with the Formula V's every single Saturday here at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then come time for Sundays, we've got you booked as well with the Formula Fords at 1:45 and the Spec Racer Fords at 3:45. That does even end it for Sundays, though, as coming up on Sunday nights every now and then, we've got the action from XSLR. They're just about halfway through their dirt road section of that schedule. That series, which runs on dirt oval, dirt road, regular oval, and regular road. They're coming up to the halfway mark of their season already, so you can catch that action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss out on any of the racing action from this series and just from everything here at SMB. But as for this broadcast today of the Formula V Weekend Warriors at Summit Point, I think that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Maunz, and Joshua Wilkie working the comms and the cams with me on today's broadcast, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting today, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future. of 2025. Let's see what sort of adventures that it has in store. That pace car way through the corner. That wasn't the crest doing him dirty.
There right off the beginning is something you probably want to monopolize on right away, honestly, in a rain race.
Involved in that as well. Godin, I believe, is a newer racer. Oh, and that's a big crash coming out of the corner. Right as I was mentioning all of those racers, that way through the field. We saw him have that off-track moment not terribly long ago, and he has come back from a... Oh my God, that's a big wreck coming out of turn number 4. Multiple cars around. A little bit of contact going to Chris Montgomery as well. I saw that car kind of jerk around a little bit through that corner, but you can see Montgomery maybe got to size up a move on Colacio, as Colacio may try and get a move on. That is 5-6 cars covered by just about nothing on this racetrack. Nearly 4 wide through the corner. Look at Colacio going in way deep into turn 5. He's going to lose out on that spot on Chris Montgomery and maybe Colacio. Too low contact being... Weekly Formula V Weekend Warriors crash him up wreckfest at the checkered flag. May God have mercy on both Josh and I's graphics cards because the event does.